Rachel Bannister, Charles Ethan Porter, and Henry Osawa Tanner. And each had their own signature work that they were noted for. And that's the key with art, that you want to say, to be able to understand and recognize an artist without having to look at their signature. That's what, makes you noted in the art world and gives you a lifelong career.
It's like their fingerprint. Huh?
Exactly,
okay.
Without having to sign their name. And each one, as you look at the work on the wall, you can tell that they all have different, subject matter, different approaches, different mediums, so they complement each other. They don't compete with each other.
Well, let's take a look at some of them. Let's start off with Robert Duncanson.
Robert Scott Duncanson. Robert is probably the eldest artist, and that's how I did it in chronological order. He was born in 1821, and he died in 1872. And he was primarily known in Cincinnati, which presently at the Taft Museum, if you go there are 8 murals in that, in the entryway that were done by him. And he's primarily known as a landscape artist.
I tell you, this piece right here, I absolutely love the waterfall. This particular landscape is probably one of my favorites, actually. And can you tell us a little bit about this particular portrait?
Well, this piece is untitled, and it's signed by him, as you can see. And the reason why it's untitled, of course, is because all of these works came from private estates, and that, like your mother bought it or whatever from, 2 or 3 centuries ago. And so the documentation or the receipts, if you will, did not follow the pieces. So for me to change this, I could give a description and give a title of it would change the piece, because that would be adding history that I don't know of. So that is why the pieces are untitled, and I describe it as a landscape. It was done in 1852, and the reason I know that is because of the period of paintings from the documentations of what he was doing in that period of time. So the experts give us the year. And another piece about Duncanson is, of course, back in the day, we were not, you could not make a living as a Negro artist painting Negro people if they were not in blackface or in some, unpopular position, if you will. So he's known as a veiled artist, because if you look in his pieces, there's an image of a black man in this. And if you look closely, you can see the nose and the mouth. And this is all, speculation, but if you look closely in all of his paintings, you can find the male figure or the figure of an African.
Wow, that's interesting that you say that, because I did read about him that he actually would mimic other portraits and to develop his own skills.
Right.
I guess this then would be his own signature.
His own signature.
He started with that. That's amazing. I do see the nose, and I do see those full lips.
And he actually taught himself to paint. He didn't go to school. This is a God-given talent. He started off painting houses. And you can say what, from there, he would look at other people's work and then copy them, if you will, before he developed his love of landscapes.
Wonderful. Well, that's absolutely a beautiful piece, and this waterfall is definitely one of my favorites. Let's take a look at some of the other artists.
Charles Ethan Porter primarily grew up in Connecticut, and he is known for his still lifes and his landscapes as well. And this is, to me, one of the most exciting pieces, because I think it shows a depth, but yet still there's darkness in it. It's really a romantic piece. And this, again, is also untitled because the name of the piece is not on the back of it, and there's no documentation of what it would be. But it's a very, very nice representation of his work. But I would like to show you this piece, because this one does have a title. This is called New Forest, and if you look at the back of it, which I won't take it off the wall, there is New Forest written on the back of it. And you can see that the back is aged. And, if you look in this piece, you can see, the farther away that you stand, you can see the in-depthness of the piece. So this is where, then you see the little lily pads, which is another signature of his. So
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I do like his work. You can really feel the depth, and it's almost like a spiritual thing. It's just so wonderful, and it's interesting that, like you said, these artists are no longer with us, but their paintings really speak to us.
And he was one of the first artists of color to exhibit at the National Academy of Design. So in all of these artists, in their own way, they found ways to make the world know who they were. And you can think about back in 1880, did he think that he would be showing